Howdy folks, Rudrose here, and welcome to another Lorcana Wednesday. If you haven't already, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button as we put out new content every Wednesday, hoping to do more near in the future. Real quick, I just want to say I'm feeling a bit under the weather, been sick ever since kind of near the end of the Christmas vacation, still trying to get over it. So this video might be a little shorter, and if I'm a little low energy, I apologize, but I'm going to do my best. So, with set 6 kind of coming to a close at the time of recording, Nationals are this weekend, we've seen pretty much most of the decks we're going to see, unless something really surprises us this weekend. I wanted to talk about a list that I thought sounded a lot of fun, and it is a mill list. And I made one last set that also was based around the Jafar wheel, but that one could also win through lore with the Jafar wheel power. And I thought, well, what if we made a list that legit the entire purpose is to mill them out, is to take all the cards from their library, put them into their discard pile, and then that's it. They're done. So we have a few new cards in purple this set in Amethyst, like Mad Hatter, which he's going to help you get cards off the top of their deck, as well as his Teapot, which you can pay 1 ink, exert it. They put the top card of the deck into their discard. Usable many times, as well as Very Merry Birthday. So we have these 3 mill cards. However, I'll be honest with you, I do not think that is enough if you want to win strictly through the mill condition, which is what we're going to try to do with this deck. I still think the best way to get cards out of their deck is a whole new world. So because of that, I feel like you have to pair this purple with steel. I'd conceived of a purple-red version in which you used all of Ruby's really strong removal and board clears like, what's that card called? Be Prepared. But it's just so slow. Like if your only way to get cards off their deck is the Teapot and the Merry Birthday, I mean, if you use all 4 of these, that's 8 cards. Well, it's a 60 card deck. So even if you get them down to 30, it doesn't matter. The only card that matters is the last card in their deck. Hatter isn't going to stay around that long, and you have to find these Teapots. So I came up with this deck idea, which is running 64 because you always want to have a little more than your opponent, especially when you're using Whole New World. And every single card is in here with a very strict purpose. It must do one of 3 things to make this deck work. 1, it must directly mill a card from their deck. And that doesn't necessarily mean mill in the sense it has to go from the top of the deck to the discard, but you have to make them draw cards from their deck. So it has to directly make them draw cards from their deck. 2, it has to remove a character from their side of the board, or it has to essentially be removal, whether it's through a character like Madam Mim or the Jim Hawkins or the Scar, or it's spot removal such as Baboom, Smash, Unfortunate Situation, Zeus. You have to have removal, all right? And then the third thing is it has to draw us cards. So a card like Beast, Tragic Hero, the Amethyst Chromacon, which you can just freely hit the gas on this deck because you want them to use it and draw cards, friends on the other side, Whole New World, etc. So it's either 1, making them draw cards, 2, removing stuff from the board, or 3, making you draw cards. If it doesn't do one of those 3 things, it should not be in this list. Earth Giant is a forced draw. Yzma technically makes them draw 2, but it also puts 1 back, so it's essentially a 1 draw. It's also a good doubler for spot removal. Every card in here fits this, right? Mad Hatter makes them mill. Removal on a body. Removal on a body. Makes them draw. Draw for you. Removal on a body. Removal on a body. Removal on a body. Also makes them draw. It's a double one. Tinkerbell. Removal on a body. This is all pure spot removal through damage. Makes them draw or mill. Draws for you. Draws for you. Also makes them draw or mill. Removal on a body. Makes you both draw or mill. And then makes them mill. It's very straightforward. That is the game plan. Again, the idea is not that, well, I'll mill if I get there, but otherwise I'll get to 20. No. That was last set. The whole purpose of this is you got to win through that mill condition. So try to set that up for yourself at your locals. See if you can achieve it. Let me show you a few matches to see if this thing's worth taking a spin on. As a reminder, the list I showed you at the beginning and I'll re-show at the end are the kind of finalized versions. There are some cards in here I originally tried that you'll see in some of these matches. I don't have anymore like that little Tinkerbell. We actually drew Hatter there, which is nice. Sometimes it's hard to get him early, but as a 1/1, he also says he's going to immediately die to this Captain Hook. The Gym at least allows us to kind of counter kill. But there you go, 1 card off the top of your deck. When you are using Hatter, make sure you read him carefully. I believe his exact text says something along the lines of, you look at your opponent's card and then you decide whether you put it in their discard or you either put it back on top or maybe the bottom. It's a little hard to do that on tabletop. You know, they pretty much just have to reveal it. But just if you're doing it locally, just remember, technically they don't see it. Technically, I believe you look at it and then decide what to do with it. We get to the big old Jim Hawkins shift. Really good card, especially when it comes down on turn 3. Turn 3, a 5/5 that quests for 2 that also puts damage on something. Feels pretty darn nice. We're okay with that. And expect grindy games when you're doing this too. Again, when you're going for that mill condition, you're trying to make them run out of every card in their library. So these games are going to go on for a while. Earth Giant, pretty solid early, especially when you can force him to draw. And if you notice there, I made him draw first and then cast a whole new world. Now, granted, it's mandatory, so I could have done it in the reverse order, but this way he has one less card he can benefit from, which is quite nice. I actually don't mind that Unfortunate Situation card. The problem is when you get a board like this, they get to select which character they put damage on. So it's kind of like a Lady Tremaine action where it's really good if they only have one character that they're forced to use it on, but not so good when they have a big old board like that. But Jim's a really good crowd control too, and our opponent showing off his John Silver legend. Seeing him trying to make this card work a lot. Sometimes it seems okay, but just clearly not worth the effort folks are going to put into it. So you don't need to quest. You are just free to challenge, because your whole purpose is hopefully you can actually find a Mad Hatter's Teapot, which is crazy how difficult it is to find that card. But, man, some of these matches, that right there, if you can almost guarantee you started with it, even then, I just don't know if the mill works without Whole New World. Whole New World still feels like the reason these decks get to work. So we do a little trading here and there. This John Silver is actually a great counter to our deck because he has resist +2. So any kind of damage-based removal I use, which is pretty much all my removal, it's just going to resist it. So I throw out the Chronicon. I want him to start drawing. Here, I actually have to burn the Unfortunate Situation and then run the Gym in as well. It sucks because they have so much damage resist. Double check Unfortunate Situation too. There are certain cards that say like place damage upon them, like Mosquito Bite. It actually gets around resist, but I don't believe Unfortunate Situation works that way. But just always check. You can see Calhoun was in an earlier version of this build. I like her. I thought she was fine. I don't remember why I ultimately cut her because there's nothing necessarily wrong with her. Maybe just the fact that I don't remember why I cut her, if I'm being totally honest. But she's fine. You know, she's a good attacker. Kind of sucks she'll die to something like a Smee in return. And she gets you lore, which again, you're not really going for. Your whole point is you're trying to just win through milling. When it comes to stuff like locations, you do have a few cards that can deal with these, such as Along Came Zeus and Baboom. And you don't have amazing challengers, but that's, I think, why I ended up putting in a card like the Scar. Granted, I don't remember if I think the challenger works on the locations, though, because I think it just says when he's attacking. I'd have to double check the text on that. Very specific text on a lot of these. More Chromicons. We can smash our opponents into oblivion. Still no Hatter's Teapot, which just shows how little you can do when it's here. There you can see an instance where I use the Baboom to finish off the location. And a Smash and a Calhoun. Finally got a Teapot. Ink your heart out, too, in this game and when you're playing this deck. I think that's one of the things I like about this deck. Even though I don't think mill as a win condition is there as a viable competitive solution yet, I enjoy I don't even know what the right word is, but there's a level of lack of commitment. I don't have to worry about my lore total or them drawing cards off of Amethyst Chromicon. I think that's what I like about it, is that there's just certain aspects of the game where you normally have to worry about that you just don't. The only thing you have to worry about is that they don't get to 20 lore. And you should almost always outdraw them, even with as much draw as you're doing. I've never seen them. I've never been like, oh man, I'm going to run out of cards before they do. If they don't ever want to draw off your Chromicon, maybe then in that specific game you do switch to a lore condition. Okay, well, I'm just getting free card draw every turn, and you're not, so I'll take that. Fox is very good against locations. That was another reason we put him in there. And then along came Zeus. Unfortunately, Fox doesn't work with anything else, so I'm going to go at the Gym. Still don't have time to set up the Alice. That was another thing with the Teapot. The Teapots are a bit expensive. There were just times where, I have to spend all this time removing some of their characters or attacking these locations. I just never felt like I had time to set up the Teapot and establish a Teapot. Because even if you get the Teapot early, let's say you get Mad Hatter turn 1, Teapot turn 2, now you're spending 1 ink a turn, which that early, you only have 3-4 ink to spend on a Teapot every turn. And again, your opponent is going to be questing, probably realizing what you're going to do, so Yeah, I wonder if the teapot should have been free. And I would have even taken a restriction of like once per turn in case they're worried about you reactivating it for some reason. But to pay 2 for it up front, it doesn't affect the board. I think it probably could have been free. You probably didn't need to pay an ink for it. But whatever, it is what it is. So that John Silver has a ton of resist, which means we need to blow a lot of removal on it. But now we've got the Hatter and his teapot. Oh boy, we're going to drain cards from your deck, sir. Seeing my opponent just has everything in the world. I don't know if I can deal with all that. And they're on 16 lore. So that's a lot I have to take out. So the Hatter actually has to get swapped out for the Fox. But I don't know if I've got enough to take these out. Well, I've got a Zeus. Can take out a Smee. Yeah, so Zeus can take out Smee. I don't think the Baboom. Yep, so then you use the unfortunate situation. They go to 18. If I could find Whole New World here. My opponent just saying, all right, deal with all this. I don't think you can. But that's okay. So now the only condition is a mill condition. So first we Chromicon. And we Chromicon again. Get absolutely no card draw here. So I think we're pretty much hosed at this point, unless I can somehow stop all this, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, yep, this one's over. So I wasn't able to show you an exact deck count, but I'm pretty sure my opponent had close to 20 cards left in deck in that game. And it just shows you how difficult it is to reach this. And granted, we didn't really see Whole New World much that game. I think we saw one early with the gym. But you absolutely need that card for that condition, because if you're just doing the teapot and the Hatters, it's just too slow. So they'll either need to make a bigger, or like cards that do more. I talked about the red purple one earlier too. The nice thing about the red list is you could use lore drain cards or lore stealing cards. So cards like Thievery or a Pirate's Life, where not only are you getting rid of their characters, you're keeping their lore count low. And I think there's probably a deck out there that could do that. But oh boy, does that sound very grindy. And again, without Whole New World, you are legit having to use all the purple means to just very slowly get through their deck one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. So that's a bit too much misery that I don't think even I want to put myself through. So going with the tabletop issues, of course, but we'll get Jim out there. Looks like I got a shift Jim. Can do a little Zeus if I want. I've got the teapot. Could go in on the teapot next turn if my opponent doesn't have more threats. Of course, Mr. Smee's quite his own threat. Opponent doesn't want a quest, and I don't blame them. We decide, all right, time to hit the gas. Let's put out some Chromicon. I'll put out the Hatter. This will surely bait them into attacking, as they don't want the Hatter to just sit there and keep sculpting their deck away. It's a shame he's a 1-1. I don't know if a 1-2 would have made much of a difference, but that could have been nice nonetheless. Our opponent showing their super pirate theme. Good old Donald Duck. He's going to get some extra lore for having some pirates and captains around with him. But the nice thing is early Chromicon says we can just hit the gas. What are you looking for in your opening in this matchup? Probably, I do like both the gym shifts, and if you have Whole New World for it too, that's very nice. The Chromicon is also really great. There are many red-purple lists I've run in the past with Chromicons, or green-purple with Chromicons, and there is always this feeling of, I don't know, I'm giving them cards, and this is, again, the one deck where you're just like, man, I don't care. Please draw cards. I want you to draw cards. That's how I win this. After an ink, our opponent throws out that old Donald Duck Buccaneer. It's crazy to me that card is a legendary. It's just so slow, and it needs haste itself, which you only can naturally give it in Ruby, which means you're running the Jolly Roger, and just, yeah, what a strange, awkward card. So we go ahead and take one card off their deck with the Mad Hatter. And go ahead and gas up our hand again. Put out another Jim, just trying to give ourselves some more control. And then that Jim's going to sing Zeus. It's a quick way to get rid of that Donald, and see, it didn't do anything. That's why that card's not very good. Our opponent didn't even get to use anything for it. And Jim is just going to happily trade with anything that tries to go into him. Here come the locations. Luckily, Jim is a very good way to deal with that. But you can see in this early game, right, I have had the Mad Hatter's teapot this whole time, and I haven't put it out because I can't. I guess this is the downside of the Chromicon, is that while, yes, you want them to draw cards so they can lose by mill, it also means they have threats to put out every turn. They're not going to run out of cards and threats to put out. So I have to spend all this early ink putting out cards like the Double Gem, like the Tinkerbell, ways to control the board before I can finally go in on the teapot plan. If it didn't have that cost of return, Maybe I could establish it a little sooner, but yeah, 1 ink adds up quite a bit, and it is no spell book in that regard. Good old Billy Bones, who can actually break our Chromacon, or potentially our teapot if we put it out, once he's dealt with. But if they break the Chromacon right now, at least I'm kind of cutting off their own draw, which is not that was what we really want. But so we'll send both of the Gyms into the Perilous Maze, get rid of him. Tinkerbells, I'm going to banish both. He gets rid of the Chromacon, but now I can safely put out the teapot, and now the teapot can start putting in work. So with the Hatter, that's 2 cards a turn. Okay, now we're starting to get somewhere. Very Merry Birthday, that's another 2 cards. Now, when you've got these pieces, and I've got a big old board state, and they can't B-prep you or anything. Of course, even if they did, that doesn't stop me from just ripping cards off their deck. If you can get to some kind of stabilization point, you got a chance. And rewatching this, I wonder, man, it's almost like the Chromacon really is that double-edged sword, because now they're out of resources. I'm going to start filling them up again. Give them threats, but at least I've got the teapot established. There's the Hatter again. That's another 2 cards. We like that. And I think I'm questing here, not because my goal is to win, but, well, my goal is, of course, to win, but I'm just putting that lore pressure on saying, if I have to, because at the end of the day, like, let's say you actually took this to a tournament or you took this to your locals. The most important thing is winning. So I think putting on this kind of lore pressure is okay because, hey, if you need to win this tournament, then change gears and go for the lore win if you absolutely have to. I would love to win strictly through milling, but this is not my Jace, the Perfected Mind, Magic the Gathering deck, where that deck pretty much only won through milling. But it was good at it. It was certainly a lot better than this deck is. I do like this Gym a lot, though. He's pretty solid. And with another teapot, I'm trying to draw into another teapot. There we go. I finally do. So now maybe I can really start burning my opponent's deck here. And the Beast is going to draw them extra cards, too, and I believe he's mandatory. So he actually trades out the Beast, realizing that. I was like, yeah, I don't actually want to draw cards every turn. I don't think it's a good idea. So we put out another teapot. Our opponent is not going to be drawing. We finally get 3 teapots. Now we're saying, okay, I can take 3 cards off your deck. And it looked like they were just at 23 a second ago, so they should be at about 20 now. The difference between 1 and 3 teapots, quite large, eh? Yeah, I believe they're at 20 cards. So they just play their hand out, pretty much realizing, okay, this is Lore Central. I need to wipe them. I check. They have 20 cards left in deck. I have a Whole New World. They're not going to draw off the Chromacon. The Teapots is 3, 17. Whole New World's another 7. That's 10. So I need a little. I need more than just one Whole New World. That ain't going to cut it. There's also pretty much no way I'm going to be able to take out enough of these people to deal. I mean, maybe the Gym can't really. So unfortunate situations, not great. I smashed the Smee. I'm thinking, okay, I've got to just try to control this board. Smash the Donald Duck. That gets him down to 1, 2, 3. So with the Gym. So now he's not on lethal anymore. Because, yeah, the Whole New World, I was not close enough. We mill another 3, though. That's going to put him to 17. Plus 16 with the card draw. So now we're getting close. Now we have a chance to mill them out. They draw location for turn, which gives him a little extra lore, but opponent goes for the quest. The lore counter is incorrect there. They didn't go to 20. So they go to 18. So now it's remove everything or make them run out of cards. Well, I'm counting up my options. I've got the Whole New World. I've got the Chromacon. Hatter's Teapot can do another 3. They're at 16. So if we can get another Whole New World, we can, which is why I opt to have Jim sing it. And can we get it? Yes, it's the final card. So now I do and I get the 4th Teapot, all 4, 3, 4, and finally cast the last Whole New World and make our opponent mill him out right at the last second. Hooray, we did it. So there you go. We were successful in milling out our opponent at least one time. It's not great. You shouldn't be taking this as a serious competitive event, but if you want to have fun, if you want to just play the game in a different way, and I did genuinely enjoy playing the game in a different way, I'd give it a go. Hopefully we get more cards like these. Hatter's Teapot, Unbirthday, Hatter. Hopefully we get more of these cards in the future. Will we? I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate you so much. And until next time, take care.